A smile too wide. I don't think I can ever sleep with the lights off again. It started about 3 weeks ago, though I'm still not exactly sure how it began. There wasn't a single moment where my life just fell apart. No clear warning signs, no ominous dreams or cold gusts of wind, or whatever nonsense you hear in other stories. Just a slow, creeping dread that sank in like mold behind wallpaper. It was late, probably around 1 a.m., and I was walking home from a bar down on Fulton Street. It was a Tuesday, so the place was practically empty, which suited me fine. I wasn't drinking to be social. I was drinking because I couldn't stand being alone in my apartment anymore. Not with the feeling I'd been having lately, like I was being watched. I know how that sounds, but it wasn't paranoia. It wasn't that buzzy fear you get when you watch a scary movie and then go brush your teeth in the mirror, avoiding your own reflection. No, this was different. This was specific. Like someone knew exactly what I looked like, exactly how I moved, like they were learning me. That night I took a different route home, side streets. Dumb, probably, but I was trying to shake the feeling that there was someone behind me. I never heard footsteps. I never saw anyone, but every few steps, the hairs on my arms would rise like static, and my stomach would clench like I was about to puke. My instincts were screaming, louder than I'd ever felt before. And when I finally turned the last corner to my street, I swear to God, I saw something duck into an alley. I didn't stop to check. The next morning, things were worse. When I looked in the bathroom mirror, I looked it off. Not sick, not tired. I looked like someone pretending to be me, like a digital render or a deepfake. My smile didn't look like mine. The crease above my nose was just a little too high. I spent almost an hour just staring at my reflection, trying to figure out if I was going crazy or if something had actually changed. I went to work. My coworkers didn't say anything. Nobody looked twice. Maybe they were too wrapped up in their own shit to notice that I didn't feel real. But later that day, I got a text from my neighbor Greg. It said, "Hey man, didn't know you were home this morning. You left your lights on." But I hadn't been home. I'd been at work since 7 a.m. When I asked him what he saw, he said, "Thought it was you." Waved at me from the window. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the lights on in every room, even the bathroom. I sat on my couch with a kitchen knife in my lap, waiting for some knock, some sound, anything. But there was nothing, just silence. A thick, unnatural quiet that seemed to press in around me, like my walls were holding their breath. The next night, it got worse. I came home and found my bedroom window open. Just a crack, just enough to let in cold air and something else. On my nightstand was a Polaroid. In it was a photo of me asleep, except I hadn't been home. The timestamp on the back said 2:14 a.m. I had been in my office at that time, alone. But not alone, apparently. I moved out the next day, took what I could carry, and went to stay with my brother in Montauk. I didn't tell him why. I didn't want him to think I'd lost it. But that night, I saw the thing again, outside his house, standing in the driveway. It looked like me, but its movements were wrong, like it was trying to guess how to walk, how to tilt its head, how to blink. It stood under the streetlight, perfectly still, arms limp at its sides, and then it grinned. It smiled at me from the edge of the driveway, and something inside me fractured. It was my face. But wrong. Not wrong in an obvious, horror movie kind of way. There were no extra eyes, no torn skin or gore. No, it was worse than that. It was subtle. So subtle that someone else might not have noticed. But I did. I knew my own face. The way my left eyebrow is always slightly higher than the right. The faint scar under my chin from a childhood fall. The way my smile doesn't quite reach my eyes unless I'm genuinely happy. That thing on the driveway had almost everything, but it missed something. Or maybe it added something. When it smiled, the grin stretched a fraction too far. The skin at the corners of its mouth didn't fold right. There were no smile lines, no tension around the eyes, no life behind them. Just that grin, pulled wide like a mask that didn't quite fit. And the eyes, God, the eyes. They were empty, not hollow, not black, worse, like polished stone, smooth and reflective, and utterly devoid of thought or emotion, like someone had carved them from river rocks and stuck them in a mannequin's skull. They looked at me, but didn't see me. They observed, they studied, and yet it was me, my jawline, my shoulders, my haircut from last week, my favorite gray hoodie, a tear at the sleeve from where I caught it on the mailbox last Tuesday. It had remembered everything. Everything except how to be me. I don't remember screaming. I remember the way my heart thudded in my chest like it was trying to break its way out. I remember stumbling backward into the kitchen counter, knocking over a half-full glass of water that shattered on the tile. I remember my knees buckling and the taste of copper in my mouth. Like I'd bitten my tongue without noticing. My brother burst into the room a second later, eyes wide, breath ragged. What? What happened? Are you okay? I pointed toward the window, toward the driveway, but I couldn't form the words. It was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just the sway of the tree branches and the low hum of the streetlight buzzing like it always did. It was there. I managed. It looked like me. He gave me that look, the one people give when they think you're either lying or losing your mind, but are too polite to say so. You probably just dozed off. Stress dreams. You haven't been sleeping well, right? I didn't argue. What would be the point? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it either. But I had seen it, and it had seen me. And worse, it had smiled, as if it was proud of itself. Later that night, after my brother went to bed, I sat alone in the living room, all the lights on, the baseball bat clutched in my hands, some sort of pathetic talisman. I kept staring at the window, waiting for it to come back. Instead, I started digging. I read until dawn. Old folklore, phantom doubles, skinwalkers, mimics, every myth and monster that involved stolen faces or copied souls. But none of it matched. Those things were violent, animalistic, driven by hunger or rage. I think this creature wanted to replace me. And judging by what happened next, I think it's getting closer. My boss called the next day. He said, "You doing okay? You've been acting different." My stomach dropped. What do you mean, different? You came in Monday, didn't talk to anyone, just sat in the break room for half an hour, then walked out. I figured maybe something was going on. You looked distant. I hadn't been to work in over a week. That night, I got an email from my account. I hadn't logged in. I hadn't even used that laptop since I left town. Subject line was, "Thanks." Message body, "I like this face. Think I'll keep it." Attached was a video, no sound, just a static shot of my kitchen. And there I was, sitting at the table, smiling into the camera. That same smile. Wide. Too wide. And then, at the end of the video, the thing wearing my face winked. I'm not going back. I don't know if I even can. Three soft knocks. They say that if you run far enough, if you push yourself past city lines and motel doors, if you change your name and forget the sound of your own voice, maybe, just maybe, you'll outrun your past. But what no one ever talks about, what no one prepares you for, is what happens when your past isn't content to sit still, when it grows legs of its own and learns to walk faster than you ever could. It's been 4 weeks, possibly 5. I'm no longer sure what day it is, because time here in this place, in this headspace, has grown slippery, like wet glass or melting ice, something I keep trying to grip, but that vanishes between my fingers the moment I try to hold on. In that time, I've changed towns 4 times, always in cash, avoiding questions, avoiding mirrors, sleeping in rooms that reek of bleach and old sweat, rooms where the wallpaper curls like paper forgotten in rain, where the bed sheets carry the stale ghosts of dreams I don't want to know. Now, whenever I pass a mirror, whether it's a shard above a rusted sink or the darkened window of a car, I pause, just for a breath, just long enough to wonder, to fear, whether the reflection will mimic my blink or lag a second behind. The dreams haven't stopped either. Some nights I find myself trapped in the kitchen from my old apartment. Not the Roach Hotel where I'm currently hiding, the real one, where the linoleum was cracked and the coffee always tasted like burnt comfort. In those dreams, I sit quietly at the table while a version of myself, one with straighter posture and a cleaner smile, eats leftover pizza. He drinks orange juice from the carton, laughs with a voice that sounds almost like mine, almost, but not quite. That's when the dream always twists, and I find myself being seen, truly, wholly, by the thing across from me, by the imitation that's no longer content to pretend. And as its gaze lands on me, I wake up, heart slamming against my ribs, sweat chilling every crease of my body, lungs stuttering like a choking engine. But last night was different, because last night I didn't wake up, not immediately. Last night I listened. In the dream he stood slowly, deliberately, and with a voice that mimicked mine perfectly, but without the rasp, without the weight, without the doubt. He said, "You don't have to keep running. I've got it covered now." Then he smiled. Not that too wide grin anymore, not that grotesque stretch of imitation. No, this smile was perfect, practiced, the kind of smile I didn't even know I was capable of giving. In that moment, I understood. Whatever he was, whatever it had once been, it had finished its study, completed its rehearsal. When I finally woke, soaked in cold sweat, trembling and silent, there was a knock at the door. 3 soft taps, unhurried, gentle, but unmistakably familiar. I froze in the dark, every light in the room extinguished, except for the dim, blinking red of the smoke alarm. Like a failing heartbeat, I didn't move, not for hours, until the knock came again. 3 taps, exactly the same, patient, confident, like it knew I wouldn't answer, not yet. but also knew that eventually I would. It's here now, closer than ever before, though I'm beginning to suspect he was never far at all. That this entire journey, this foolish, exhausting attempt to stay ahead, was nothing but a stage, one he let me play on until he was ready to take the curtain call. I tried calling Greg today, my brother, my last real tether. But the voice on the other end was wrong. It wasn't just the usual voicemail. It was different, almost playful. And when it said, "Leave a message for us and we'll call you back," I felt something inside me tilt, just a few degrees, but enough to know I would never speak to my brother again. Now, as I sit here in the dim flicker of a motel lamp that buzzes like a dying fly, I hear something new, my own voice, speaking from the other side of the door, low, calm, unbothered. You can't run forever, and it's not a threat, it's a promise, a statement of fact, a closing argument from something that knows it's already won. I press myself against the wall, wishing I could vanish into it, that plaster and paint could absorb me, that time could unwind. But even as I wish, I understand. There's no escaping something that already is you. He doesn't want to kill me. Death would be too loud, too messy, too final. Instead, he wants to erase me, to overwrite, to walk where I once stood and live the life I was too broken to hold on to. And maybe he already has. Because when the knock comes again, 3 soft taps, no more and no less, I stand. Not because I've given up, not because I'm weak, but because every night I've fought this thing in my mind. And every night I've lost a little more of myself. In those fights, I've come to realize something. Some battles aren't about strength, or strategy, or even hope. They're about recognition, about finally understanding that what's left of you is not enough to keep going. So when I open the door and I see him, see me standing there with calm eyes and steady breath, I don't see a monster. I see the better version of myself, the one who isn't haunted, who isn't afraid, who remembers how to smile without flinching. He smiles, and this time I smile back, and I step aside. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It helps the darkness spread. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next nightmare. And remember, don't listen to the whispers in the dark.